my name is Kristen. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to go through my reading plans for February. So I haven't really done monthly TBRs in a really long time. I don't find that I stick to them. I'm also a library-based reader, so that means that I really can't control what and when I have access to books generally. I'm a, what's that word? Recovering postponer of library books. But that's part of why I wanted to make this video. I kind of wanted to go through the anticipated releases that I have on my eye for February that are coming out this month that I would really like to get to, but also then taking through like the priority books that I have my eye on for this month, as well as kind of the books that I have coming up like in the wings, waiting in the wings in the library on the Libby app. One of my goals this year is to read more intentionally. That doesn't necessarily mean like sticking to a TBR, but it does mean like picking up books that I know that I want to read and working through books that I've like actively chosen as a priority this year, rather than just picking up whatever whenever I hear about it. We're at the very tail end of January right now, so there's like one book that I anticipate I might be able to finish before the end of the month. Otherwise, I'll start off with like the things that I currently have, that I'm currently reading, that I have on the go. So outside of the book that I think that I'll be able to finish, I am also about 40% through The Curse of Chalian. This is one of my priority reads for the month, and I am listening to the audiobook. I'm really enjoying this book. I set it down because I got to a point where I'm actually enjoying it, and I care to the extent that I think that something really bad is about to happen, and I'm like stressed out about it. I'm in like the middle of a scene. I'm like, I don't want to know what's just going to be announced because I'm pretty sure I know what it is and it's horrible and I don't want to hear it. So that's where I'm at with that book. But I only have 4 more days for the library hold, so I have to pick this up and keep listening. So that will probably be finished in February. I've also started Age of Assassins, which is like another one of my priority reads. Yes, I'm just like not killing it with the priority reads so far, but I'm actively working towards this. I have to get like, on average 2 a month. So I also have Age of Assassins on the go. I'm only like 15% into that, and that is an ebook. So again, I think that will largely be a February read as well. I did start Illborn as well, which was another one of my priority reads. Just wasn't feeling it in the moment. And so this year I'm going to allow myself to put books down, but not with the intention of like, I'm officially DNFing this. More of a sense of like, this isn't right in the moment. I'm going to get back to it another time. I want to be able to like give books their best shot. And I generally find that like, if I'm not feeling a book, I can tell that it's more about sometimes it's like not the book. But then there are other times when it's more about that it's like, I'm not in the best mood for this particular book, so I'm going to give it its best shot by setting it down temporarily and coming back to it another time. So that's sort of like what I'm currently reading that I feel like will technically wind up being February books. Let's then look at, let's do new releases next. So new releases in February. February is like a crazy month for great books, for like new releases, though I have a small handful of the ones that I think realistically, these are the ones that like are a top list of like, I'd really like to get to this. And then we'll see what else has really great reviews and really great feedback as it's released, and we'll go from there. But the new releases that I really want to get to are Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is like Ali Hazelwood's foray into paranormal romance. I think it's a vampire and a werewolf. I read 2 of Ali Hazelwood's books last year and actually kind of enjoyed them. So I'm like curious to see what this will look like. Romantasy at large has not been working for me. So I am curious, or like, I feel like I'm looking for the right format or like the right style of romantasy for myself. Like that's like a little bit of a journey that I'm on this year, but I don't want to read a ton of romantasy in order to get that. I just want to like be like, what have I read so far? What are the common threads there? Why weren't those ones working for me? And then like, what else is there that I can pick up? So I liked the 2 romance books, that like contemporary romance books that I read by Ali Hazelwood. Let's try her romantasy foray and see if that works for me. That is coming out on February 6th. The other book that I want to read coming out on February 6th is The Trials of Empire by Richard Swan. I'm up all night, right, with the baby. So when that becomes available at the library, I'm going to like put a reminder in my phone that night, because it like happens in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. And I'm going to try to get like top of the line for access to that book. I can't wait to see how this series ends. Read the first 2 books last year and just like loving this series so curious to see how it winds up. Can't wait to get to that. Definitely gonna be reading this one. But I hope that not ever other people at my library are as desperate to get to it as I am. Then coming out on February 23rd is The Fox Wife. This one looks like a little bit of fantasy meets historical fiction, it says, but I also feel like it'll have like more of a literary feel based on what I've heard about it. Just gonna give a little, so Manchuria, 1908. Some people think foxes are similar to ghosts because we go around collecting chi or life force, but nothing could be further from the truth. We are living creatures just like you, only usually better looking. A young woman is found frozen in the snow. Her death is clouded by rumors of foxes involved, which are believed to lure people by transforming themselves into beautiful women and men. Bao, a detective with a reputation for sniffing out the truth, is hired to uncover the dead woman's identity. Since childhood, Bao has been intrigued by the fox gods, yet they've remained tantalizing out of reach. Until perhaps now. From the advanced reviews, I think that this might be like more of a fantastical literary fiction that really works for me. I've heard the writing is absolutely beautiful, and that's always a big draw. So if I can get a hold of this either in February or like soon-ish, I'd really love to check this one out. And then February 27, I've got Fathom Folk. This is one of my priority reads for the year. It's like one of the anticipated or new releases that I was like, I'm gonna read this book, put it on my priority list. So I gotta read it. And this is, it looks like an urban fantasy that is where people are living in like skyscrapers that literally look down on like this water-based mythological playground. That's not the right word, but it has a ton of like water-based mythological creatures, and I think that that could be really, really fun. I think it's interesting that it's like more urban or like futuristic urban fantasy setting. And I think we have someone like a main character who's like half siren, who's gonna like get into the, you know, detective whatever field, or she's like becoming a cop, that kind of a thing, and she's gonna shake it up from the inside. And I'm not doing it justice, but I don't want to pull up the synopsis. You've heard other people talk about it. I've talked about this one before. Fathom Folk, coming out on February 27th. Like to get a hold of it. The other thing on February 27th that is also another one of my priority anticipated releases for the year is A Fate Inked in Blood by Daniel L. Jensen. Another romantasy for me to try out. The Bridge Kingdom by Daniel L. Jensen is one of the only romantasy books that has ever worked for me. So odds are higher, perhaps, that I will like this. Fingers crossed, hopefully. I didn't necessarily love the newer version, like the second duology within that, but this is a Norse-inspired romantasy where we've got a main character who has like a drop of goddess blood or god blood or whatever, and that makes her a shield maiden, and she's like falling in love with the son of some chief that she has to work for. Something like that. Fate Inked in Blood. Gonna be checking this out. I have also heard really amazing things from the advanced reviews on this one. So those are the 5 new releases that are coming out in February that I would really, really like to get to. There's no way that I'm going to be able to read like all 5 of those books, plus all of these other books that I've already mentioned, plus the ones that are coming up that I'm about to mention. Just not realistic in my life right now, but these are the ones that I'm like going to try to get like front of the line at the library so that I can get to them as soon as possible. Some of them perhaps in February. And then I thought we'd go through like what's going on at the library right now, like what I have coming up in the what's in the wings at the library. So I have already taken out The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. This is like a pickup for me. It was a soft DNF last year, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because I felt like the ebook was not working for me. It was really slow. I was like super pregnant at the time, falling asleep every time I tried to read it. So I thought I would try the audiobook, and I've basically been on hold for the audiobook ever since. So it finally became available, took that out. So once I finish The Curse of Chalian, that will be my next audiobook. It's been long enough that I honestly might start at the beginning and maybe like listen like really, really quickly until I catch up to where I left off, which I think was in around like 30 or 40%. Like I think it was like a decent chunk in. I'm not like specifically certain where I was, and I would just like to get the feel of it. So I might start that one over. Then I have like, maybe I'll do like a little like scroll. I can't pull it up right now because it's on my phone, which I filmed from, but I think like available soon is going to be The Pomegranate Gate. This is a new release from last year that I've hit postpone on a dozen times, so I'm finally going to take it out soonish. Maybe not necessarily this one. It'll depend on, again, I've already had like several books open. So we'll see when it becomes available. But this one is obviously going to be coming available soon. And this is a historical fantasy that is a portal fantasy. And this one is set in Spain during the time when the people of Jewish faith were being like evicted from the country, and somebody who's on their way, who's like leaving the country, somehow finds like a portal into another world or gets lost there. It's something like that. So it's like a portal fantasy set in this historical time period. I think it'll be really, really interesting. So have my eye on that one. Then I think like roughly 2 weeks, which means like barely anyone is in front of you on the line, or maybe just like you're next in line is how I generally interpret that. We have I think it's the 12 Kings of Sherikai, which is one of my priority reads. And I think this was a new series start that I wanted to check out, something that's like kind of broadening my horizons within the fantasy world. So I've got that. Possibly I'll be picking up in February, as well as another one that was like roughly 2 weeks away is The Throne of Five Winds, which is a TBR vet. This is another one of my priority reads, TBR vet. So tons of TBR like priority, like two or three that I'm already in the middle of, 2 that were new releases, another 2 that are coming out at the library. So like definitely I'm going to be meeting my minimum 2 a month pace here for that. So that's what's coming up at the library. That's sort of like in the midst. I just postponed Strange the Dreamer because I was like, there's so many other things going on right now. I know I can't get to that one right now. And then of course there's Scribd, which like I can pick up whatever's on Scribd whenever. I'm not going to get into those books. But that is sort of like, that's like a picture, a snapshot of what my February could potentially look like. It's going to be a smattering of those books. I'm sorry if you can hear like, screams in the background. But that is what my February might look like. Definitely it'll be some of those books. Hopefully nothing that I haven't mentioned, because again, that's the whole point of this, is to be like, this is what I've got available to me. I'm going to pick from here, pick and choose from what comes up, what works out with timing wise. And we'll go from there for February. We'll see how this works as like a method of structure that's not like so constricting that I don't stick to it, but that at least like limits my willy-nilly reading of other things. So anyway, that is what I've got going on. What are your plans for February? Do you still do a TBR? And do you know of any readathons that are going on? I think that I'm going to not be able to participate in a lot of readathons this year just because of like constraints on my time. But what I would really love is to provide book recommendations for readathons that are going on, like to fit all the prompts. So hit me up if you hear of readathons that are going on. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to check those out so that I can help you guys participate in readathons this year, and I can live vicariously through you. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.